How's it going, everybody? I'd like to play a game.
All right, now listen. First of all, to get this off and just to get this straight, I know this isn't a jigsaw robe. This is a ghost face robe. But we're just gonna work with what we got, That's just what we gotta do here. How's it going, everybody? My name is Queemy Boy, and today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different on the channel. Today I wanted to sit down and do a movie review. I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about the very recently released Saw X. I've been a Saw fan for a while now. The earliest memories I have of Saw is like growing up. My dad watched all the movies and had DVDs of the movies, and I was always like really interested by just like the covers of like the DVD cases because the Saw posters and just everything about like the marketing for Saw movies, like especially when they were first released, very intriguing, and they were just very different from anything else you would see from horror movies and just from movie posters in general. I feel it was very different and unique in my opinion. So I watched the first Saw when I was like 8 years old, probably. Got scarred. Didn't really touch him after that until I got older, and then I didn't really watch through all of the Saw movies until probably closer to when after Jigsaw came out. I watched Jigsaw, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch through all the Saw movies finally, and I did, and there's some good ones, there's some bad ones. I just recently did like a full watch through before Saw X came out, and yeah, I've got some thoughts, and I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about them because, I want to share how I feel about this movie because it was fucking awesome. The way this review is gonna go, movie came out last week, so I want to say that the first half of this review is going to be spoiler free. I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the movie without going into any spoilers, so you can stick around and hear what I have to say if you haven't seen the movie yet. But there will be a point where I warn you that we're going to go into spoilers, and I will let you know before then and talk about stuff, future movies, etc. So yeah, Saw X was honestly something I wasn't very interested when I first had heard something. I think the earliest thing I had seen about this movie was from like Viewer Anon on Twitter, and he was talking about like the synopsis for the movie and the main plot of like what he had heard, and just like he was also saying that like he had heard from like a friend who had worked at Lionsgate that it was like the best Saw movie or one of the best Saw movies. So I was like really intrigued by that point, especially with bringing back Tobin Bell, who is the star of Saw. Like, it's crazy to me that it took them 10 whole movies for them to put him in the spotlight, and I know a lot of people agree, but it's something that, oh my god, they had to do it, and I hope they do it again, and we'll get into that later. Tobin Bell absolutely ruled his performance in this movie, and so did the rest of the cast, for that matter. I didn't realize, like, he was 81 before watching this movie. I knew he was getting up there in age, but, like, holy man. And that only, like, helped elevate his performance in the movie because he's playing a cancer patient who's dying. He only has months left to live. It really helps play that character, and I really like the time you spend with John Kramer in this movie because it really gets you into his mind and helps you understand like why he does the things that he does to some extent, I guess. But that's just really awesome, and the traps in this movie were gruesome. And I'm gonna be honest, Saw movies are like some of like the later Saw movies got too intense for me, and I found myself looking away a lot more. This movie, while the gore was definitely intense, I don't think it was anything that was like too. I don't think it was too much. There's a few scenes now, like when I really rewatched it, I was like, ooh. There's one scene in the movie that I cannot watch anymore. I had to sit through and like tough it up the first time I watched it, but I cannot do head trauma like in anything. And if you've seen Saw X, you know what I'm talking about. That just fucked me up too much, and I cannot do that. No. I loved the plot of this movie and like there's like obviously the big twist in every Saw movie, but to some extent there was just it felt like they had multiple twists throughout this movie because like obviously the main thing is that the people who are giving John Kramer this like breakthrough like cancer treatment, they're con artists, which isn't a spoiler. You know this from like trailers and everything else we've heard from the movie. I think it's in the synopsis as well. But they're con artists. Just the way they go to reveal how they conned him and how he comes to that realization finally. I was sitting here and I was just like, holy fucking shit, that is so good. Like, oh my god, that's crazy. Um, and I think they did like a really good job with this movie in general. They really brought it back to like basics for a Saw movie, and it really feels like this movie. It feels like you're watching a movie that came out in between Saw 1 and 2. They did a really damn good job at like recapturing that feeling. Something I feel like Spiral really failed to do in the stand of they used like really nice cinematography, and like that wasn't a bad move at all, but it like I know a lot of people agree with this. Spiral didn't really fit Saw in many ways. But I will sit here and say I liked Spiral as a movie. Like I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was cool. I liked the kills. My dad though, like the day before I went to go see that movie, he told me he was like, "I'm pretty sure it's gonna be his partner." Just from like the trailers, he didn't see the movie because like my dad can't do the movies anymore; they're too much for him. He was like, "I think it's gonna be his partner." I was like, "Oh yeah, why?" He was like, "I just think so. It's obvious." And I was like, "Okay, I went to go see the movie and seen Spiral, you know, it's his partner." So I came home and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Are you serious?" This isn't a Spiral review. This is a Saw X review. So back to Saw X. Spoiler warning now. We're gonna start diving into some spoilers. We're gonna talk about like some things that happen in this movie. We're gonna go into a little bit more depth about the traps, and we're just gonna talk about some of the things that occurred throughout this movie that I think were pretty ballsy of them to do, in like the best way though. So first of all, going into like the thing I was talking about before. Holy shit, the way they revealed the con at the end. Like not at the end, but like when John Kramer goes back to give the gift to Gabriella, and it's just empty. And then he sees the video. As soon as the video turned on, I was like, oh my god! I started piecing it together. I was like, holy fuck. Then originally, when he was doing like the thing to take off the bandage to reveal they didn't do the surgery, I thought he was going to like rip off like the scalp of the surgery. But then I was like, oh my god, they didn't do the surgery. Wait a minute. So I'd come to that realization right before he ripped the thing off. I was like, oh my god. All of the characters, like the people who played all the cons, they did such a damn good job with the cast in this movie. All the cast did such an incredible job in this movie. And it was just, oh man, it was such a treat for Saw fans, I feel like. Because this is something people have been wanting. I feel like the demand for Saw hasn't been there. The hype for Saw has not been there the way it had been in previous years, just because the last two Saw movies we got were Jigsaw and Spiral, and I personally really like Jigsaw. But the problem with both of those movies, okay, well, the problem with Jigsaw was that they made it, and then they were like, all right, we're just gonna switch now. We're just gonna do something else now. We made this story, we're gonna switch, go back, do something else. We're gonna make a spin-off. Then they made spin-off, and then now we're back with Saw X. But I hope what they do with Saw X is they stay to form. I've seen a lot of other people say this, 3C Films, Critical Overlord, bunch of other people have also said this, that I would love for them after this. I know damn well this movie has performed amazing. This is the best, like this is the first Saw film to ever get rated fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, as far as I'm aware. So that's pretty good. It's got a pretty damn high critic score. So I mean, I'm not one to really care for critic scores at all, but if the critics like a Saw movie, I think that's saying some pretty good numbers. The traps in this movie, like I was saying before, they're really like they're gory, but I feel like they're not too over the top. Like the movies, my biggest issue with the Saw series is that sometimes a lot of the people in these movies really don't deserve to die, you know? Like there's a handful of them who are like, "Okay, yeah, you know what? You're kind of shitty. You're a piece of shit." But all the people in this movie makes you root for Jigsaw. Like Tobin Bell, you're rooting for John Kramer the whole movie because it's like, yeah, bro, that's fucking disgusting. That is horrible. That is not okay in the slightest. And it's just like, all right, you know what? I can't blame you. Seeing him figure that out, and as soon as he called the detective, I knew it was Hoffman. That was like, it's Hoffman, it's Hoffman. But I'm pretty sure everybody knew it was going to be Hoffman because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the only line, or one of his only lines in the movie was like in one of the trailers. So that kind of ruined it a little bit. I'm a little upset about that. I'm glad that the movie went back to the guy from the beginning who suggested John Kramer got that surgery, because I was confused. I was like, how, like, where does he come into play at all? Because it was like he said he got the surgery, and so I'm glad they came back to that. And I think what they could do now is obviously a movie in between Saw 2 and 3 before John Kramer dies. Maybe some of the traps we haven't gotten to see yet, because we do know that there are some traps and a few games that took place that we just didn't get to see. So that would be cool in my opinion, seeing maybe some more Hoffman action. That'd be awesome. And another thing that I really got caught off guard with in this movie, and I'm sure a lot of other people did as well, was Carlos being put in a trap near the end. That was fucking insane to me, and that was really hard for me to watch. I can't believe they did that, and it was crazy, but I really love the dynamic between John Kramer and Carlos, because it's like, no holla, no holla. He's telling him not to fucking push, and he does it so he can save his life. John Kramer is literally trying to sacrifice his life for this boy, and it's like, I don't know, man. That was just, and don't even get me started on Zep X. This movie's rendition of Hello Zep is one of the best we've ever gotten. They created extensions to that song that just worked perfectly, and it needed to be that long for the twist that occurred. And it was amazing to watch this movie unfold. This was probably like the twist in this movie wasn't anything like mind-breaking or anything, but it was satisfying. I think it was satisfying, and it ended the movie greatly. And I like that this movie ended it in a way where it really didn't show, like, tease a sequel, but it did leave it open for a sequel. It didn't exactly be like, oh yeah, no, like, there's nothing left here. There is more to be told, and I really hope they stick with this idea that they have and continue to stay backwards, because, like, I've seen the directors and other people who've worked on this movie say that they've gotten calls from people who want to come back because they're going back in time, meaning like they're doing prequels and not really prequels, just movies that take place in between different continuities of this film series. So I just really hope they stick with it, because I think they struck gold here. This movie was amazing, and I really don't have any issues with it. Honestly, I don't have any like grueling issues with this movie, like as a Saw movie. I think honestly, if anything, I feel, you know what? My biggest issue with this movie was that we didn't get enough Billy the Puppet. I'm a little upset about the lack of Billy the Puppet in this movie. We had him on the tricycle rolling up, and then we had him on the tricycle just sitting there at the end when they were leaving the place. So I'm a little bit sad that we did not have more Billy the Puppet than that. That's not an actual issue. The movie was amazing. If you get the chance, please go see this movie. If you're a Saw fan, you're not going to regret it. There's probably things I'm forgetting to say, but it's also like 4 in the morning right now, and I really just wanted to sit down and talk about this movie finally. Saw X was incredible, and I really hope they stick with what they're doing, because they have a lot of opportunities to do some amazing things here. And the only thing else I have to say is that, going back to Carlos, is that I think there's some potential there for 3C Films said this first, so I can't even like take any credit for this. 3C Films said this first, and I absolutely agree with him. I think there's some potential for Carlos to be a Jigsaw apprentice some point in the future. May that be in like a later movie. Who knows? Especially with how things go like nowadays, I feel like that might mess up with like continuity a little bit. But I think that could be really cool to see later on, because I know for a fact Carlos is a little bit mentally scarred from that whole fucking situation. So, if you guys want more movie reviews like this, let me know. I would be happy to do them. I'm totally going to do one for the FNAF movie when it comes out. But it's October, so maybe we could do some horror movie reviews like this. So let me know what else you guys want to see. If you guys enjoyed this, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys later. Bye-bye.